Good morning, everyone. I'm Edeline Lee, and it gives me such great pleasure to welcome you this morning. And thank you to the Roof Gardens, especially for generously hosting us this morning. It's so nice to see everyone wearing Edeline Lee. 7 years ago, I presented my Autumn-Winter 2019 show at London Fashion Week, inspired by Mary Beard's Woman in Power. As someone who designs clothes to support women in their power, I began to understand that the fashion stage could be used not only to look at women, but to listen to them. That show became a 2-hour marathon of voices from 35 distinguished women across all industries. And it was also the genesis of this speaker series, which we have continued ever since. And you can see previous editions on our YouTube channel. This morning, I'm proud to present the 8th edition featuring Sharon Horgan and Lisa Armstrong. Sharon and I first met when Sharon kindly agreed to work with me on my Spring-Summer 2020 presentation, which is a long time ago now, at London Fashion Week. It was an honor and such a joy to collaborate with her, and I'm so pleased to have her with us today. Sharon is a multiple BAFTA-winning, Emmy-nominated writer, actor, producer, and director. She's the most multi-hyphenate woman we know. Her work includes Bad Sisters, Catastrophe, Pulling, Divorce, Motherland, Amandaland, and Shining Veil. I myself have been binge watching Bad Sisters this weekend, and I could not stop. In my humble opinion, her voice is one of the most authentic representations of women on the screen today. Sharon will be in conversation with Lisa Armstrong, OBE fashion editor at The Telegraph. Lisa has worked at Vogue, Elle, The Independent, and The Times, and she has won the UK Press Award for Fashion Journalist of the Year 3 times. She's also a multi-hyphenate. She is known for her support for both established and independent British labels, and the author of 4 novels and a practical guide to getting dressed. It is a great pleasure to have you both with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sharon. And we will open this up for questions later on, so if you have anything you want to know about what Sharon's got coming up next, that's your moment. Sharon.
Morning.
Sharon, how would you describe your relationship?
Turn that off.
Yeah. Thank you. How would you... It's weird trying to have a conversation with this, isn't it?
I quite like it.
Okay, you're maybe...
Better than those things.
How would you describe your relationship with clothes? I don't mean this very minute, although you could talk about this very minute, but at this stage in your... I feel this is a multi-question because there's the you that you have to present on the red carpet, and then there's the you when you're writing, and then there's the you when you're going out, but in a private capacity. So clothes, do you feel happy with them? Is it a nice relationship?
Yeah, it's pretty healthy. I mean, it's changed over the years quite a lot. You know, I think in my youth, I kind of, it's weird, I kind of dressed more flamboyantly in a way, but I also had to try less hard. Now I feel like everything takes such an effort. But I feel like when I'm on the red carpet, we were just talking about this the other day, like I love this, like today, just being given a beautiful thing to wear, and you just, you know, instantly feel good. But then that all changes when someone takes a picture of you, like, no offense, but it just, everything's ruined.
Have you? Yeah, actually, it's interesting because you weren't just given that. You tried on a few things, and like all of us, there were things that looked really good on you, but it was obvious that they didn't feel like you to you, and then you found something that feels like you to you.
Yeah, it's like sometimes. Like I love trying something different, but if I don't feel comfortable, or if it feels like I'm wearing, you know, a costume rather than an outfit, then that kind of, I don't know. I instantly just don't feel like myself and can't relax.
On the red carpet, it sounds like an absolute bloody nightmare.
It's horrific. It spoils all the, you know, you get so excited to be, you know, you work so hard on a show, and the big kind of payoff is people watch it and like it, and then you get given a gold star for making something good. So it's incredibly exciting when you get a nomination or anything, because it's a lot of work, and you leave your family for a long time to go make that, and then it's all spoiled by
Actually,
that night.
How long did...
Which is
No, but
awful across the board.
Have you walked away from a project where you think, well, I worked on that for 3 years, but that bloody dress ruined it?
Well, no, not exactly, but you feel like I don't know. There's a certain amount of judgment that comes unnecessarily, especially as a woman. You know, when you put yourself out there, and it's especially bad when you feel good, but it doesn't translate. You know, so you go into it feeling confident, and then there's a picture
I'm not
saying
ask
how you wore
to
it.
Relive the trauma, but what have you learned from Red Car? I mean, first of all, you have a stylist right now.
Yeah, Rachel Davis.
And did you have her from the beginning?
I very much did not.
But
my first BAFTAs I attended, I think. It's different now because they sort of it's really expensive to get dressed up for anything.
Hang on, are
you
you?
know.
But surely you get things thrown at you.
You get given a budget for your stylist to bring you beautiful pieces, and then you have someone like Edeline in your life who like gives you beautiful pieces to wear for an event, but. Back in the day, you didn't really get that, and you certainly didn't get that when you were on a little BBC Three show that no one watched. You just had to turn up at the event, and I think I went to my first BAFTAs in a black mini dress, and the realization that someone wanted to take a photo was like, I'm just like sort of hunched up. My whole posture is terrible. It's better now, I think.
So did you sounds weird question, but did you dress yourself for that first BAFTA?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for years. Yeah, for years.
That idea
the royals.
is just outrageous now, isn't it? Nobody would go to an event like that without being styled.
No. But like the thing is when you do press for a show, or when you do an event, like when you go to the Emmys or the BAFTAs, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 events leading up to that actual event, and it's like a conveyor belt of clothes. You got to do talk shows, and you got to do morning shows, and so you kind of do need. We're not that pathetic.
Sharon,
you need help.
What happens then? Does somebody take your side? Does a studio or what and say you've got to raise your game, or what?
What?
Well, I mean, if you're going to events and you've sort of just put on a dress you think looks nice, which is what we'd all do, and that's when you see the photographs and you think, oh my God, it's transparent, and I haven't got the right underwear on. All those kinds of basic things, the mistakes that we all make when we don't have a stylist. Why did you get a? I mean, what prompted you to get a stylist? And was there this? I mean, what was the realization that you had to do more and look like a
I think when you just start doing, it started when I started doing bigger shows, and they were also being broadcast on US networks. So instead of just having your little BBC Three show, you have a Channel 4 show that has a partner with an American broadcaster like Amazon, and then suddenly there's money and budgets, and you're being paraded around, and you kind of have to. There's just you just kind of have to.
And then I guess when you get it right, you realise actually it's a superpower. It's very helpful. Having the right clothes suddenly frees you up to think about other things.
It's great to not have to think about that. But I mean, although saying that's kind of disingenuous, because you think about it all the time. Even when someone is helping you out with the look you need for certain shows, it's just it's tricky when there's a spotlight on you in any way. I mean, I feel like. I mean, this is nice because all ladies, and I didn't even take a beta blocker, which is the first time in a long time doing anything public. But for the most part, I'm much happier just to be sitting at home at my desk writing. You know, I mean, more happy even than on set. Acting, you know, that's my natural.
But that's
habitat.
why your multi-hyphenate is. It's so different being a writer from being a public, front-facing actress who's having to do junkets. I mean, they're diametrically opposed in a way, aren't they?
But my profile is quite different to, you know, it's a different kind of profile. Like people recognize me or come up to me when I have a show on the air. And then it's so weird, like immediately the show
you go back into anonymity.
Honestly, there's a level of fame or recognizability that certain people have that just sort of transcends that. And they have fame and they have profile and they're recognized everywhere. Mine is completely different.
Yours sounds much better.
I think it is better, yeah.
Because it's useful to be famous when you're promoting something, and then you can go back to not being paranoid about everyone looking at you the whole time.
Yeah, it's very helpful. In fact, you want the profile when you're promoting something because, again, you've spent a huge amount of time on it, and you want people to see it. And you kind of want more. You kind of wish you were more famous when your shows come out. But then, for the most part, real life is just much easier.
I mean, I think of you as very famous, but maybe it's...
Well, you're wrong.
I think it's nowadays, I think fame is in silos, isn't it? You're famous to you might be famous to a YouTube audience or an Instagram audience. For me, you're very famous. Do you have go-to pieces that you, not necessarily on the red carpet, but just when you're out and about, do you have certain kinds of pieces that you rely on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm jeans and T-shirt. That's my uniform.
Do you write at home? Because Sharon was just saying earlier that she's running a company as well. And so you're partly...
I think everyone who works for me would laugh at the running a company. My managing director runs the company, but I kind of oversee the company.
Do you write in the office or do you write on... Where do you write?
I write at my desk in my office at home.
Right.
And if we are setting up a writer's room, to get a show off the ground, we do that at Merman, in a writer's room,
How many writers would you have in a writer's room?
It depends on the show. Like with Motherland, there was always 4 of us, and it's kind of gotten smaller over the years. But then we might do a room that is, where we bring in comedians and writers who are parents who have stories, and we do a couple of days with them. But for the most part, it's like a core group. But on Bad Sisters, I think we had 8 people in the room, and it sort of varies by project.
It sounds a lot of fun, but I can imagine the first few days it's quite intimidating as well, because it's like everybody's bringing their ideas to the table or not.
Yeah, it's really intimidating. In fact, when I did my first one, it was with a US network, and I'd never experienced the writer's room before, and because it was always just either me and Dennis Kelly or me and Rob. There was no writer's room, Rob Delaney, and but being in a US style writer's room where there's multiple people and it's their job to sort of be quick and think on their feet or like punch up jokes or just just be the quickest, fastest, funniest person in the room. But then after a while I kind of learned how to do them my way, when when I was running rooms, and I don't like that kind of environment. I like everyone to feel relaxed, but there's pressure, of course, but
how many women would be in your writers? I mean, what proportion? Because your shows are so female centric.
On the last writers' room we did, I would say it was 80% women. And that's usually the percentage, actually.
When you were talking just before about, going to the BAFTAs just in a dress that you'd found, that was for pulling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just spent a lovely weekend finding all the pullings I could on YouTube because I missed it when it first came out.
I bet no one knows what pulling is. Have you seen that show?
Okay, I thought it was just me being old.
Well,
I knew what it was, but
Yeah.
because I'd always read it was the precursor to Catastrophe.
Yeah.
But I just hadn't seen it because it was BBC Three and it wasn't terrestrial.
It's the first sitcom I ever wrote, and it was for BBC Three, and not many people watched it, but it's a sitcom, and it's set in London, and it's about these three girls who kind of live together in low-level shared accommodation, and they're just kind of navigating life, and it's based on pretty much me when I lived in London and I had no money and I was in failed relationships and jobs I didn't want, and just not living the life I kind of expected turning up in London. And it's very funny, but like I said, it didn't really, it had a tiny audience.
It's absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend it because it's still, it's like 15 years, it's more. It's about 18 years old, and it's really still on point. Sometimes you look back at particularly comedies and you think, oh, they wouldn't be able to say that now. And I don't...
There's a few things, yeah. Not as bad as some. There's something that are just... Not that I've made, but it's a tricky world now.
But anyway, the thing, and what's so great about it is... Well, it's not the only thing. There's lots of great things, but it's very real. And I think all your shows are really real. You look at... I'm going to bring this back to clothes. You look at Bad Sisters and you think, yeah, that's what they would dress like. And that's what I love. You somehow, even though the shows have got, bigger budgets, glossier, Apple, whatever, you've got to deal with an American audience and expectations. But... You're still prepared for them to be in the jumper that looks as though it's been in the washing machine on too hot a wash, and that kind of...
Yeah,
and I
really,
think those details
really
are what...
important.
Yeah. How do you... Well, first of all, when do costumes come into the conversation? Not the conversation. In your head, when you're writing the characters, do you see what they're wearing?
Maybe not at the very start, but pretty soon into it, you start thinking about costume. Like with Bad Sisters, we obsessed about costume because you're dressing 5 women and you want them to they all have very, very specific personalities, and you want the clothes to express that, but you want them to express it in a way that's not standing so proud that it's, declaring itself. And we wanted the clothes to sort of represent who they were as women, the kind of amount of time they had to get dressed in the morning, their relationships with each other, like the sisters who kind of had slightly, not closer bonds, but a tighter connection. We wanted them to sort of share each other's clothes, and...
You could do a whole quiz on that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Who wore that first?
Yeah. We wanted their jobs to reflect what they wore. We wanted how quickly they changed out of their work clothes into their slob clothes, and that thing when you come home from work and you just change the bottom bit, you can't be arsed getting out of your nice shirt, but you'll just throw a pair of sweats on. And we wanted it to feel real. We wanted it to look beautiful, of course, and for there to be standout kind of I love when women notice the clothes on the show, but I don't want them to notice it so much that it's distracting, because sometimes I find that if I watch a show, I'm like, I don't need to see the costumes. I want to see that they're clothes the characters are wearing.
Have you ever experienced moments once you're on set when the costume, you think, oh yeah, the costume's telling, it's really telling people something that the dialogue maybe isn't?
Oh, yeah. You always hope that it's going to do that. I mean, you kind of you want the costume to show when someone's in love, you know, because you dress differently when you're in love, or you know, when you're having a hard time, or absolutely, you it's doing so much. Costume is kind of everything.
As an actor, how hard is it to wear something that you know makes you look terrible?
It's really hard, guys. It's really tough.
Because I think you mentioned Knox, that as the mother you had to sort of put your vanity aside.
Who laughed? Yeah, I really did, because it was not part of her personality. It wasn't part of the picture, and you know, the age of the character goes from, you know, obviously with a lot of CGI help from when and when she's pregnant with Amanda, and right up until, you know, she's in her mid-60s, and so the clothes, you know, that was an expansive sort of wardrobe that had to sort of represent a woman at the worst time in her life, and a very, very different woman to me as well. And, you know, sometimes I feel like when I write shows, the character has more of me in her, or certainly aspects of me, or women I know, whereas Amanda's mum, Eda, was a completely different kind of woman, and you know, grey wig and extra wrinkles, and you know, smock blouses and brown trousers, and
brown trousers sound okay.
Brown trousers, if Edeline did them, are great, but not these brown trousers.
That brings us to another Amanda Land, and I'm assuming everybody's seen Amanda Land. I mean, the clothes in that are like another character, her clothes, because they're hilarious. I mean, if anybody hasn't seen it, correct me if I'm wrong. Amanda is very aspirational. Yeah. She's come down in the world. She's living in Harlesden, but she's not calling it Harlesden. I can't remember what she calls it, West Queen's Park or something. And because she's divorced from a heinous husband and has taste in heinous men. But her clothes are, I mean, she's still really out there trying to put on a front, isn't she?
Yeah, very, very much. I mean, it's such a great, it's a gift of a character. And she, it's a spin-off from Motherland, and you know, the costumes in Motherland I could talk about all day. I mean, the very first episode of Motherland, Julia wore a red coat for the entirety of the episode. It was like her armor. She didn't know any of these mothers and parents, and she just kept her coat on.
And that's so true of the school run. The coat is everything.
Yeah. I believe. She had a different coat every season, and like Anna Maxwell Martin was a big part of choosing the coat. And sometimes you'd see a coat that she'd sort of settled on, and you go, "That's mental," but then you're like, "It's perfect." There's a season where she works from home, and all she does is wear like sweats and t-shirts, and then she has this like purple faux fur coat that she throws on top of it, and it just looks like she's escaped from an asylum. And
but that she feels exactly.
Yeah. Whereas Amanda was always, you know, she had, you know, there's a lot of pathos and sadness to Amanda, because the world that she projects is not what's going on, and it's very, very hard to maintain that level of perfection. I mean, she's a dick as well, and it's why it's funny and you can laugh at her, but we got to really know her in Motherland, and when life starts changing and she has to adapt to that, she kind of keeps this sort of facade going, and it is through her clothes, and you know, her cushions and her coffee machine, and whatever she can use to project that she is still successful in her life and her work, and And then so putting her into a completely different setting, but having to sort of keep up appearances, it's a sort of age old.
And I guess it
trope.
becomes a conversation with the actors as well, because they're inhabiting the character, like Anna saying, "I'm going to wear this purple coat. This feels right." But that must be a conversation as well, because there must be some times when you think, that's not how I see it.
It's really interesting because, I mean, the great thing about making TV is that it's such a collaborative, making TV and film, it's such a collaborative job, and the actor is a huge part of that collaboration, and that took me a long time to realise.
Yeah, because you have to slightly let go, I guess.
You have to let go, and I found it very hard for years, because when Dennis and I first made Pulling, it was our first ever sort of TV job, really, and suddenly we're just like handed a show, and we were like, we can do what we want, and no one kind of stopped us, and it worked, you know. So after that, you kind of think it's just this thing that you feel like you have to protect. I have to protect the show that's in my head, whereas I kind of. Really, what's great is letting go a little bit, and all these incredible people that you've sort of employed to make that show with you have opinions and have ideas and see the character in a way that you're not necessarily seeing it, and the actor really brings a lot.
And then
to
I
it.
guess you start writing to that if there's a second.
You do, yeah, with a second season,
Yeah.
always. I mean, I loved writing the second season of Bad Sisters because of that, because I knew those girls so well. They were kind of in my head, and the same with any show, the same with Catastrophe. I mean, the clothes in Catastrophe were like a huge part of developing
I
that
was
character.
really struck by that, because she's a teacher, but it was obvious she really loved clothes.
Yeah,
you know,
but had limited means. Yeah.
But she was always making a statement. She had colour. She got real pleasure from her clothes, I think.
Yeah. But also didn't always get it right. You know, looked
yeah, but
good,
that's
but
life, isn't it?
we thought we had this idea that she would shop, you know, high street, and she would, you know, vintage secondhand clothes. But then if there was a sale on, if there was a designer sale, she would just buy it.
So
it didn't really matter if it was her kind of thing,
would there be,
or even her size. if it was
would she go too small or too big, or either?
Too small, too big. There's this one great outfit in the first season. It's like a tweed kind of what would you call it? It's just like a tweed jacket, but it's yellow, and it's way too big for her. And it's it's got shoulder pads, and it's something that we decided she'd sort of found vintagely and just loved and decided to wear, but couldn't quite pull it off. And her husband kind of when they're attacking each other's physical appearance in order to make each other feel better.
Very closely with the costume designer on that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I brought a lot of my wardrobe into the Sharon character in Catastrophe, more than I've ever done, and also I shopped for her, and then with the costume designer we kind of built it together then. I mean, obviously they did way more shopping than me, but there was certain ideas and thoughts I had that I thought it's better if I just, you know, bring them in and see where we get to.
With Amandaland, well, actually with Motherland, at what point did it become apparent that Amanda could be a standalone?
When we realised we couldn't make the show Motherland anymore, and none of us were kind of ready to give it up, you know, because we felt we had more stories to tell, and certainly the sort of the jump from having primary school kids to having secondary school kids, having to start over, like find another sort of set of new friends, the difference between being able to keep your kids close at primary to sort of not even getting to really do a school drop, you know, unless they're late or something. But we felt that was all like just ready to sort of explore. And then with Amanda, I mean, Lucy Punch is such a rock star, such an incredible actor. so naturally funny, but it's like I said, we realised what we'd put her character through in Motherland was all perfect fodder for someone starting over, you know, in Amandaland. And the fact that we were able to bring Joanna Lumley along with it as her mother and Philippa Dunn as her sidekick Anne, you know, it was like a joy.
We're going to come back to Jo Lumley in a sec, because I just wanted to say you're a mother. This is a neat seg. You're a mother, and one of Sharon's daughters is studying fashion at Satchel St Martin's, and I really intrigued what that relationship is like when vis-a-vis clothes.
Yeah, she's very critical.
But is she also constructively critical?
But she is now, yeah.
And can I ask you how you navigated what they were wearing? If there were ever any moments where you felt yourself about to say you can't go out like that and stopped yourself?
Always, all the time. Like when I could see up their skirts, you know, when when they're leaving and they walk upstairs and I'm like, everything is exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Put a longer skirt on.
And did you say it?
Of course I said it. Yeah. I never really, I mean, I love how they dress and, you know, love that they are interested in clothes but yeah, it would just be from a practical point of view. What if you go up an escalator at the Tube?
No, but don't they say that's my right and it's up to men to curb their enthusiasm?
Yeah, it's absolutely, they say that and they're right, but it's also, you know, my sort of job as a mother to point out that it's a bit drafty.
Yeah. And then what's interesting, I found, is that it's a revelation to them. You think it's so obvious you shouldn't really go to school with your boobs hanging over whatever. And they look at you as if you've come up with like Pythagoras or something. They just, what? Is it?
Yeah, it's offensive to them. It's like you said, that they would have to curb what they want to wear, present themselves in any way because of, you know, the world that we live in. And they're right to point that out. But I'm just so much straighter. I'm so much straighter as a parent than I thought I'd be. You know, it's a constant surprise to me.
That's when you start to understand that your parents weren't always wrong.
For sure, yeah.
One last thing before we open up, because I think people will really want to know this about how there's a Christmas special coming up
of Amandaland, yeah.
And what you said about Jo Lumley being reunited with
Jennifer Saunders, yeah.
It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I can't
actually
wait.
Dressing those two must be quite the challenge, because I imagine Joanna Lumley was a model. She's got very strong opinions.
Yeah, and she's gorgeous.
Yeah,
she's so unbelievably gorgeous, and so stylish. Jennifer's not really playing a very stylish person in Amandaland, but her costume is very fun, and there's always a huge amount of pressure that comes with doing a Christmas special. I've done Christmas specials of a few things, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, because there's such pressure to hit those numbers, aren't there?
It's not even numbers. It's like the people, you know, that all people want at Christmas is to not argue with their family, have a nice dinner and watch some good TV. And if you put something on that is disappointing, it's just
you'll be responsible for lots of divorces.
I just can't. But I think it's great, and I think we've done 2 Motherland Christmas specials, and it's you just kind of you want to capture Christmas, you know, for people, but you want to capture it for the characters as well, and just, you know, see them live it.
Does she have to wear a novelty jumper?
I couldn't possibly say.
Right, and questions.
I have one. Okay, thank you so much. Hi, thanks for such a great talk. I just wondered, when you do play all of these roles that you get to in films and series, and you embody certain characters, what's that sweet spot between staying you and remnants of the character also staying in you? from costume, fashion, and just personality, character traits?
Well, I mean, the thing is, you want to leave you behind as much as possible, because it's really important that you like I'm a kind of relatively nervous overthinker, kind of awkward, and none of those things are helpful when it comes to playing a character. You kind of want to leave all that behind and operate within the body of this person you've created, because you want her to, you don't want people to see you. You want them to see, the person that you've created. And the thing is sometimes on the flip side, you want to get away from that character when you're done. I mean, dependent on the material you're doing, but like when I did Together with James McAvoy, or when I did Best Interests with Michael Sheen, they're going through something so awful, and actually you want to leave it behind and just go home and hug your girls. Do you
find that because generally you're known for these quite exuberant
idiots?
Not idiots. I was gonna say wacky, but that's not the right word. But they're not shy.
No, but for the most part, they are characters that are, the characters are driven by the comedy. That they have comedy.
Yeah, they're a bit
characteristics,
doofusy,
and like they're selfish, or they think before they speak, or whatever it is. But it's so in a way, I guess that's what I'm sort of known for. But then when you're asked to play characters who are, when you're playing someone who's a real life person, or who's going through something that, first of all, it's incredibly important to represent well on screen, but it's also something that's very difficult. You don't want people to see the comedy person that you've played before. You want them to just be fully invested.
But does it mean that people, when they meet you, come with expectations that, Sharon's this quite zany,
yeah, people think
extrovert.
I'm way cooler than I actually am. It's so disappointing. I think with Catastrophe, for example, people thought I was incredibly kind of forthright,
and outgoing, very outgoing.
And outgoing, and they also just assume you're kind of cleverer than you are, because we spend months and years writing these words, and people are very articulate and expressive, and they know how to figure out their feelings in the moment, which none of us do. For the most part, you walk away from most encounters going, "Why did I say that?"
Yeah, but in a way, writing allows you the gift of perfecting something.
Oh, it really does.
So then that, in a way,
all your failed arguments.
Yeah, exactly.
All your failed arguments.
And
you get to win them.
But then what it does in real life is you think, I need to go and sit down and think about this before I give you a response.
Always. I'm really inarticulate in an argument. And then I'll just do an email and
much better.
Get it all out there. I've gotten much better at not sending those emails. That's the trick.
That is the key to success. And I'm always,
or at least just wait 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, write it down. Itchy finger. Don't do it.
I think most scandals in the world now could have been avoided if somebody just hadn't done that tweet. Or
yeah. Just wait 10 minutes.
And it's weird that people they can't exercise any kind of, like, what do they call it on TV when you have that live TV? You'll have you have a buffer thing. So it's like 20 seconds before,
But I think it's a sort of, it's like a dopamine thing even, isn't it? The adrenaline you get from an argument, and then like the potential to sort of give yourself that sort of boost by letting it out. We're all
that's
so
true.
Fucking stressed all the time. It kind of has a temporary relief, and then you got to deal with the heart attack you have after, because
But you haven't had any social media blow-ups, have you?
no, I'm pretty canny on social media. I use it very rarely now. In fact, I've just taken all social media, it's been a few months, off my phone.
So that's an incredible compliment to you, I think, from the people who commission you, because so often they seem to want to know how many followers an actor's got or a writer before they will seal the deal.
It's a full-time job to get that follower count up. You really have to. You can kind of see it happen in real time, like when you post something, especially if you put yourself out there, and then suddenly like your numbers go up, and then you're like, if I continued on this trajectory, it could work. But I have other jobs, and
but also on something, on a big show like Bad Sisters, there must be a whole social media team. So
I mean, when it comes to work, I promote the work. I for sure use it, but I used to use it in a slightly different way. To get the dopamine hit, and I'm trying to not do that anymore.
Do you get dopamine hit from clothes? I'm bringing it back to that.
Well, you get a buzz when you look good.
Yeah.
You get a buzz when you feel good, for sure.
Are there any things from any of the sets over the 20 years that you've wanted to take home or have taken home?
I take home a lot of it because I hate shopping and I'm really bad at it. I get bored very quickly. If there's bad light in the changing room, I want to kill myself. And then, so I just do not enjoy it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll buy anything from whatever shop has a good mirror. It doesn't kind of matter what it is.
It's a mystery that shops haven't clocked that by now,
It's
because everybody wants to kill themselves.
It is one of the world's greatest mysteries.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
It's
the lighting, the tint of the angle of the mirror. It's simple.
Angle.
What was the question? I can't
There
remember.
was. Are there any?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
To bring it back to fashion. Sorry, I lost my voice, guys. I just wanted to tell you your absolute vision, the both of you, with the hues of pink, Lisa and Sharon. You're gorgeous. Quick question about Edeline Lee, and I love seeing lots of Edeline Lee all over, and I know that Lisa knows that Edeline has lots of fans, timeless fans. You mentioned the red carpet, Sharon. You used Edeline Lee for red carpet. Have you used it in a film set or her? Her.
I don't think I have. We
You
should do
should.
that. Yeah.
I'm not paid by her, by the way.
We know.
I'm just a friend.
What have you got coming up, Sharon?
I'm
not that's necessarily Edeline appropriate, but
actually the character in the new thing is more Edeline appropriate. Just in terms of her world and her job and how I'm sort of seeing her at the moment. I'm writing a show for HBO that we start filming in February.
what's it called?
It doesn't have a name yet. Well, it's got two working titles, both of which I'm not going to tell you. But it's kind of going back to my roots, I suppose. Pulling catastrophe sort of half hour and sort of using where I'm at in my life to tell a story, or as a jumping off board for a character.
Which is so. It's so fantastic to watch because, Pulling was about 20-somethings and now we're sort of 50-somethings.
Yeah.
And I think millions of women just really appreciate being able to go on that with you and deal with all the crap and make us laugh at the same time. I think it's really valuable.
Well, it really saves my therapy bills as well, so thank you very much.
Are we...
Yeah. Well, any more questions?
Let's have breakfast.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.